got an energy spike.
Pull back!
Launch.
Now!
Bombing the Narn back to the Stone Age wasn't enough for you?
Then we heard it. The sound of something terrible being born.
This is madness.
Station 3 to Commander Ivanova.
Centauri have launched a full-scale assault.
Time is come and gone! It's our turn now!
2 million tons of spinning metal, all alone in the night. A world where empires rise and fall, where dreams are born and die, where war and hatred are challenged by love and faith. In the third age of mankind, an age plagued by an evil empire that seeks to destroy humanity. It is our last, best hope for peace, for victory, for freedom. It is Babylon 5.
Babylon 5 is available for download on your favorite torrent site. See it now to experience the greatest show in television history. Babylon 5.
Story of the week.
It is time for Story of the Week, and you know, I was just mentioning militarism. Well, and I mentioned how I don't want to congratulate Microsoft too much, moving the mic arm here, so if you hear a little, that's what's going on. Or you just heard me do that. Great. You know, I saved your ears. Or maybe I traumatized them. I'm sorry. But talk about inflicting some trauma. Well, Microsoft. Story coming from Ars Technica here is our story of the week, and I want to read about it. Like I said, I'm not going to give them too much congratulations. And, you know, speaking of pornography, like, pornography was definitely giving Tumblr its edge. If there's any reason, I think if there's any reason people are on Tumblr, I mean, I know that, you know, 5-6 years ago, everybody was like, oh, Tumblr is Facebook 2.0, Tumblr is the future, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, that didn't happen for varying reasons. One could argue that that's because of pornography. I would argue the opposite, is that Tumblr only had a purpose because, again, it was so hands-off. But regardless of that, you know, there's the argument that sex or pornography or eroticism, pick your terms, okay? They all fall within a certain Venn diagram, and some places go wackier than others. There's the argument that is part of what pushes technological innovation. I think that that's an accurate statement in many ways. Not all, but in many, many ways. I think that, yes, pornography certainly did, you know, increase the adoption of, say, the internet, right, of the World Wide Web. However, what brought on the internet? Well, ARPANET, right, which was a military, a military project, which was designed to create a network that could survive nuclear fallout. So that's what the internet came out of. And yes, it did. Don't tell me, you know, believe me, I wish it came out of the free market, but no, it did not. We need to be honest with ourselves about that. Okay. And did the free market, you know, make it viable? Well, if you want to call pornography the free market, but then you better admit the importance of pornography. The other thing that really made the internet like something viable, honestly, was email ads. And you got to admit to that too. I mean, it's not sunshine and rainbows, okay, that brought the internet to life. And we should really accept that and appreciate that fact and maybe second guess its very existence. But let's be honest here that the military, maybe not as much as pornography, or maybe as much, or maybe more, does push forward technological innovation. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, as someone who is in the military and who is nothing less than ashamed of that fact. Okay, I recognize what that institution is, and I am not giving it any praise. I say this to warn you that any cool technology that you see up and coming, even ones that I might find to be interesting and cool, and that could have genuine use in either, you know, entrepreneurship or to just have a good fucking time, or maybe to fuck, can be perverted, not into pornography, but into some form of militarism. And here's the story from Ars Technica. Microsoft wins $480 million military contract to bring HoloLens to the battlefield. $500 million. This is a huge contract in Silicon Valley. I know you're saying, yeah, but this company is paying $20 billion for this company and blah, blah, blah. Isn't this small potatoes? By no fucking means. Sure as fuck not for HoloLens, which how many people even have that? I mean, I know it's still like in dev kit, but you get my point. reading on here by Peter Bright. Here's the subheader. The contract should see the military buy more than 100,000 headsets. Now, that number may not seem like a lot, okay? And I understand why you feel that way. However, 100,000 headsets, the U.S. military is doing everything it can, and it has been doing this since I served in the U.S. military, okay? I even hate to use the word served. But when I was in the U.S. military, the attempt to put as few soldiers onto the battlefield and instead put some kind of drone technology, be it, aerial drones, ground drones of some kind, whatever, that has been the dream. And do you I'll just say this to you right now. Do you think HoloLens could be very useful for making that happen? The reason I say that is, and obviously the answer is yes, because we're talking about augmented reality, and the soldier is actually either making use of data from a drone or is actually controlling the drone from it. Okay, now, so 100,000 of these headsets, especially if the situation is that it's controlling, say, some kind of, remote killing machine, okay, and that's exactly what it is. That turns, one HoloLens headset potentially into a mini army in and of itself. So 100,000 headsets, yeah, that's pretty substantial for any division to be using these things. Okay, or however it's going to get shaken up. Let's read the story a bit here, and then I'll talk about it more. Microsoft has won a $480 million contract to develop an augmented reality system for use in combat and military training for the U.S. Army. So part of its training, yep, you can see where that application would be, but then be clear. It also says for use in combat. Reading on. Called Integrated Visual Augmentation System, or IVAS, formerly Heads-Up Display 3.0, was originally HUD 3.0. The goal of the project is to develop a headset that gives soldiers, both in training and in combat, an increase in, quote, this is an exact quote, lethality, mobility, and situational awareness, end quote. The ambitions for the project are high. Authorities want to develop a system with a goggle or visor form factor, nothing mounted on a helmet, with an integrated 3D display, digital cameras, ballistic laser, and hearing protection. The system should provide remote viewing of weapon sights to enable low-risk, rapid target acquisition, perform automated or assisted target acquisition, again, this is kind of all pointing at drones, integrate both thermal and night vision cameras, track soldier vitals such as heart and breathing rates, and detect concussions. Over the course of IVAS's development, the military will order an initial run of 2,550 prototypes with follow-on production possibly in excess of 100,000 devices. The military has already used HoloLens for training. Microsoft's current headset falls far short of the requirements. For a start, it's too bulky and offers an insufficient field of view, but it certainly serves as an important precursor technology. A new version of the headset is expected to be shown next year. Augmented reality startup Magic Leap is also reported to have bid as part of an attempt by the military to expand the range of contractors beyond the traditional military-industrial complex. Stallion breaking in for a second. First off, Magic Leap's technology, I don't even think really exists. Where the fuck is it already? Even though there's been that great minute demo video. Oh, that's all we've got for years. Okay, but who owns Magic Leap? Oh, Google! Who's in a bunch of hot water with their own employees over their military contracts and playing ball with the Chinese government. Let's read on a little bit more here. The successful bid comes against a backdrop of employees being increasingly willing to speak out against customers against customers that they disapprove of, in this case, the military. In June this year, Microsoft staff penned an open letter imploring the company to end its contract with ICE. Due to widespread revulsion at ICE's family separation policy, Google similarly has seen substantial internal backlash over its plan to build a censored search engine for China, and earlier in the year, an image recognition system for the Department of Defense, which we talked about both. Microsoft also actually works on a crime predictability engine. Sounds right out of Minority Report for the police. They happily work with that. So what's the moral of the story here? What's the deal? I want you to be aware that anytime you hear some idiot, some asshat, when you see Slapnuts over there to your left, say, "Oh man, I love Google. Oh, thank you, Google. Oh, Microsoft. Oh." the future you have given us. Oh, it's so beautiful. They are literally supporting the murder of children. These tech giants. Yes, they are. You know, you have to keep it in perspective. And I've said this before, that if you made a heat map, maybe you could put on HoloLens, you know, use the latest in Miltech for that. If you made a heat map of where government money falls, okay, and government equates to military, right? Because that's what government is, the monopoly use of force. We heard that from a president of the United States not too long ago, that that's exactly what it is. If you put a heat map down on where government money is and say red meant government money, it would be red everywhere. You can't avoid it. That's a fact. You really can't avoid it. But what businesses sure as fuck can do is not go for the goddamn bid and say, oh, military, we would love for you to use our HoloLens. Yeah, I mean, I hate it because, I mean, sometimes it does make you wonder about, like, the fact that, so, you know, with video games, okay, I'm a serious gamer, okay? Like, I mean, I don't play fucking, you know, Battlefield or Call of Duty or any of that bullshit, okay? I can't do it. But as a gamer, for years, kind of what I've always told myself was that, you know, when people say that, oh, well, you know, I don't know, whatever, this Armed Forces game or Call of Duty or whatever, and well, Call of Duty, there's a whole other case to be made for that. It's trying to recruit kids into the military because the military recruiters literally show up at game releases at GameStops for these games because they know exactly who their audience is. Okay, so that's fucked up in and of itself. But I would always say to myself, well, you know, okay, I mean, at least these companies aren't working with the military. You know, I mean, yeah, they're making games that are based around it, whatever. It's an epic story, blah, blah, blah. This is how we're taught entertainment has to be, and so you go with it. But there's a separation, right? It's kind of like church and state. It's games and state. There's a separation. No longer. And it feels a little ugly when, and this is what I think can really bring you pause. It feels a little ugly if in our future we're popping on HoloLens. And look, I've been excited about HoloLens in the past because I think there's genuinely amazing therapeutic and wonderful things that could be done with virtual reality. But when you put on your VR headset, and remember that demo that Panos did, that Panos Panay, or well, one of the ones that Panos is on, whatever, they were demoing how like this thing came out of the wall and you had like, when you had your HoloLens on, it looked like you had a, you know, kind of a Mega Man style gun hand or something like that. And you started blasting that thing that was coming through the wall in augmented reality. I think it should bring you pause that same technology that is powering that game is the same thing that is literally assisting in the killing of actual human beings. I'm not saying you are responsible for that. I'm not saying you buying HoloLens is supporting the military-industrial complex. I am saying think about that. Do a gut check. A real serious gut check and ask, hey, wait a minute. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not telling you, oh, don't use Microsoft's products. Oh, don't use Google's products. Don't do that. I mean, there's plenty of reasons to not do that. You know, I mean, if you want your shit cracked into, or if you want to count on a service, obviously Google doesn't. I was going to crack a terrible joke about the Google not needing the military to take stuff to the graveyard, but that is a horrible joke. And, you know, but you get my point, what we were talking about earlier. Okay. What I want you to get out of your head is any sense of praise for these companies or any idea that somehow they give a shit about the individual. I'm sorry, you can't support the military and then say in the same breath that you give a goddamned about human life. You can't. You can't say that you're an entrepreneur. You can't say that you're doing real business. You can't say you're any kind of free marketeer. You can't say any of that shit. If you if you at any point just to grease your fucking palms, because does Microsoft need another $500 million? The fuck they do. Okay. You know, to grease your palms, you choose bullets over business instead of business over bullets. Fuck you. Don't tell me you give a damn about me or that you give a damn about people like Google did. And that was as simple as something as Hangouts. I'll be right back with some more Sovryn Tech.